Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today is Friday, July 16th, 2021. I have some interesting things for you guys today, and, we'll get into this first one here in a little bit. There's so much going on right now. There's literally so much going on, it is almost impossible to keep up at this point in time. It really is. It's getting to the point to where so many things happen in a day that as soon as you go to save something, or if you make videos and you want to make a video, five more things happen. It's incredibly multifaceted. So just so much in such a short amount of time. And they're overloading us is what they're doing. They're really, really pushing the limit on the entire thing. And, I think they know by now that most people don't really care and are very apathetic, which has been our problem the whole time. So nobody will really stand up at any point in time. I'm fully convinced of that now. It really, really sucks to have to say that, because I did have a lot more faith in not only my fellow Americans, but people in general in the world. Just in general, I had a lot more faith before all of this started going on. I had a lot more faith that people would put their foot down and stop all of this in its tracks. But that has not happened, nor will it ever happen. Okay. Also, before I jump into this, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be going live for the first time in a couple weeks. I know I haven't been doing many live streams lately. I've been working a lot, been working Saturdays and whatnot. I actually took the day off tomorrow, but my wife still has to go to work, which in itself kind of sucks, because, I just got some things to do tomorrow. But I'm supposed to have a conversation with Tim also tomorrow morning before the live stream and stuff, so I'm hoping that still holds true, because I haven't talked to him in a while. And I'd like to know what he's thinking other than what he puts in his videos. And we'll just get to talking all the time, me and Tim, and we'll just start talking about all kind of stuff. Just everything, I can't even explain it. I'll let you guys know how that goes. But yes, tomorrow night, live on this channel, which is my main channel, of course. My backup channel is still suspended for a couple more days, I think it is, because of that video that got taken down from a month ago. My recording app updated, so I had to figure out how to use it again, because they moved a lot of stuff around. And I'm hoping that it works. So we'll see what happens with it. Seems to be going all right so far. Okay, this first one, we all have heard about this. Trained military personnel ready to help with marks, is what we'll call it. It's what we've been calling it. This headline alone should terrify every single person. When militaries and countries get involved in anything that has to do with domestic disputes or domestic situations, it's usually not a good thing. It's usually not a good thing at all. And of course, they're going door to door. And what it's going to do is, I'll explain that as we go. So let's just go ahead and start reading this stuff. Don't care about those people. All right. Already it sounds like, we'll see. The United States military stands ready to contribute its large-scale logistical and medical capabilities to support the government's marking efforts. We'll say marking instead of C-19 V nations. The Department of Defense has a long history with its medical personnel, medics, corpsmen, and other trained technicians, providing a wide array of marks to service members, DoD personnel, their employees, and families. This support can be deployed across the country on shorter notice than federal agencies or the private sector. President Joe Biden has pledged to get 100 million marks into the arms of adult Americans in the first 100 days of his administration. The government is purchasing an additional 200 million doses of the I'm just going to say it, Pfizer and Moderna marks to be added to the national stockpile for availability by the end of July. You know what that means, right? Every single person is going to have to get this thing. Why do you think they're getting so many and mass producing so many? Eventually, it's going to come down to your individual choice. You will have to either say no and stand your ground, or you're going to cave. And everything that, especially if you're somebody like us, and if you cave, everything that you've believed in, lived for, will have been lost. This is not a good situation at all whatsoever. Very dark times ahead for the United States and the world, of course. Of course. Okay. Deals have also been announced by the federal government to send doses of the marks to participating drugstore and grocery chains across the country. Quote, it may take until June, July, August to finally get everyone marked, predicted Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at the National Institutes of Health and Biden's chief medical advisor. And he said that a couple months ago. When you hear about how long it's going to take to get the overwhelming proportion of the population marked, I don't think anybody disagrees that's going to be well to the end of summer and we get early into the fall. As mark supplies continue to be restocked to inoculate some 300 million Americans, or virtually the entire adult population, armed services trained personnel are likely to be called in to assist state and local efforts. I'm going to read that again. Armed services trained personnel are likely to be called in to assist state and local efforts. You do know what that means, right? You do know, don't you? It's going to start with maybe a, hi, are you interested in taking this? Nope. Have a nice day. And then the next time, we really recommend that. Nope. Have a nice day. And then once they see how that goes, the door-to-door thing, then they can get creative with it. And there's something else, too, that we're going to get into in the next article or so, or whenever I decide to bring it up. That I believe, and many others probably believe as well, goes hand in hand with this. So, like I always say, you have to look at these things as connected. Nothing is on its own. Nothing is mere isolated. Nothing is isolated at all whatsoever. Okay. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin recently approved the Federal Emergency Management Agency request to augment and expedite marks across the country. Okay, yeah, we know FEMA has been in control since March of 2020, March 13th to be exact. Quote, the DoD must help the federal government move further and faster to eradicate the devastating effects of the situation. I guess we can call that. Still. Austin ordered the first contingent of more than 1,000 active duty military personnel to support California's state mark sites. Additional mark missions will follow. Yeah, they're calling them missions. They're using military terminology. This was the reason that they purged the military when they did. Remember under the Obama administration when some 260 top generals were, see ya, gone. And then they put on the, one of those, what is it, like a test or something, or a evaluation. They asked the question, would you ever fire on American citizens? You say no, you're out. And all this stuff going on now with the military and all that, this is why. This is why. So people that say, oh, the military would never go against it, you don't think they thought of that? You don't think they have that angle covered? All the time that they've been working at this, in all the hundreds of years that they've been at this whole thing, try to get their long-sought utopia, as they would call it, you don't think they thought of all of these different scenarios? When people say that, they literally sound dumb. I'm done playing. I am done playing with anybody. There's no time to sit here and try to baby people and try to coddle them and spoon feed them information. Like, no. You don't want to understand. People still give me flack for just everything. I go on social media, start talking about the New World Order. I got people on there, oh, what makes you think that your conspiracy theories are true? Well, gee, have you been outside lately? Have you opened your eyes at all? Did you wake up today? Jeez. Training for such eventualities goes on all year long. Training courses throughout the military branches have been preparing for the civilian marking efforts as an added part of their curriculum and instructional and practical courses on marks. Trained military personnel can provide marks to civilians under the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act. The PrEP, I thought I messed that up. The PrEP Act allows the Department of Health and Human Services to issue a declaration to provide legal protections to certain military personnel involved in mass marking. Okay, so let me read that again. Really digest this, please. The PrEP Act allows the Department of Health and Human Services to issue a declaration to provide legal protections to certain military personnel involved in mass marking efforts. Why would they need certain legal protections? What are they going to be doing that they need legal protections from? These are the questions that people need to be asking. But instead, they're just cool with it. I don't know how they've been so successful with their poisoning of the minds, poisoning of the food, the water, the air, the propaganda constantly blaring out of your television in your living room forever and ever. It's on your radio, it's on your phone, it's on your everything. It's in your head when you go to sleep. Why would they need legal protections? Why do they already have this ready with the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act? We know why. And look how sad this is. Wilma Tucker, a 99-year-old, received her mark at General Leonard Wood Army Community Hospital. Isn't that so sad? 99 years old. Made it her whole life. 99. Just to give up her eternity at the end. That's so sad. I'd shed a tear for this woman. That is so very sad. That Father forgive her, for she did not know right from wrong. At Joint Base in San Antonio, Air Force Master Sergeant Evans Opoku, the enlisted consultant for allergy immunization, said they have been informed to push out the message to trained medics in the specifics of markings, we'll say, using the DoD guidance. The DoD guidance adheres to the guidelines created by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which are being used in mass civilian markings. Only approximately, where the hell did I see that? Only appropriately trained and qualified medical personnel working within their scope of practice are selected to run a mark effort. either for the military or civilian community. Medics authorized to administer marks must complete prerequisite training and maintain certificates of training requirements set forth by the CDC, as well as any applicable DoD training requirements. So basically, you have to be, primed and prepped for this. And this just goes on about their programs and a 5.5-week joint service training provided by Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, blah, 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 blah. We'll keep going down here. Actually, we're almost done with this. Okay. Military history and continuous training mean thousands of enlisted personnel will be able to help stop the spread as greater mark supplies become available for mass distribution. Said Secretary of Defense Austin, the military's critical role in supporting sites will help mark thousands of people per day and ensure that every American who wants a mark will receive one. Yeah, at the end they put that in there, but they're talking about 300 plus million. I know a lot of people that don't want this damn thing. But eventually it's going to come down to that. Because they're already going at people for all of it. Now, the part that got me in this whole article, not only is just the whole thing terrible, illegal, technically, not by their standards, but by the actual standards, it's illegal as shit. Excuse my French, but I told you I'm done playing. The people on here that have been following me for a while, whenever I say things, I'm not talking to you guys get it. Or else you wouldn't be here. You guys have always gotten it. You guys are great. The people that stumble across this video, you are the ones that I'm talking to. Anyway, the part that really got me was the whole legal protection. Where the hell is that at? Here it is. The PrEP Act allows Department of Health and Human Services to issue a declaration to provide legal protections to certain military personnel involved in mass marking efforts. Again, I will ask, what are they going to be doing that they need legal protection from? Follow that out to the logical conclusion, and you got it. Man, let's move on. This is just, what is this? Go away. Okay, moving on. Alright, here we are over at Politico. Politico, whatever. Check this out. Potentially a death sentence. White House goes off on Mark fearmongers. The administration has shifted to a head-on strategy to dispel fear-mongering over its door-to-door efforts. And then you get this snake. Look at him. Evil. Look at this guy. That's the face of pure evil. But, he's the savior, right? The Biden administration is casting conservative opponents of its Mark campaign as dangerous and extreme, adopting a more aggressive political posture in an attempt to maneuver through the public health conundrum. Ooh, yeah. Oh, man. The White House has decided to hit back harder on misinformation and scare tactics after Republican lawmakers and conservative activists pledged to fight the administration's stated plans to go door-to-door to increase mark rates. You see how they're still playing Hegelian dialectic. They always will until they don't need it anymore, which they still do, of course, or else none of this would work. Myself and most of you would be categorized in that group. Even though we're not even close. Because, you in their dichotomous thinking, you have to be one or the other, right? You're not allowed to just have your own opinions and, be somewhere toward the middle if you had to identify with anything. Nope. Got to be one or the other. The pushback will include directly calling out social media platforms and conservative news shows that promote such tactics. Quote, the big misinterpretation that Fox News or whoever else is saying that they are essentially envisioning a bunch of federal workers knocking on your door, telling you you've got to do something that you don't want to do. Anthony Fauci obviously said in an interview on Sunday. That's absolutely not the case. It's trusted messengers who are part of the community doing that, not government officials. So that's where I think the disconnect is. Well, they could say all day long that it's not the government. But if I go get somebody and I say, hey kid, I'll give you $5 right now, you go slice tires on this guy's car. And then the kid goes and slice the tires, I give him $5 or whatever. Oh, it wasn't me. It was that kid. It was the trusted people, trusted messengers, part of the community that did that. Come on, man. Who do they think they are? They know. I'm not even going to say that they think. They know that people are so stupid that they will just accept this. And they will even defend it and argue with you over it and tell you that it's not government, even though we got military ready to go door to door. And in some cases they already are. And when I get to my next one, you'll see what I think is also on the horizon that goes along with this. Fauci took some of that messaging to Sunday cable news shows, including underscoring the idea that door-to-door mark efforts are an attempt to remove barriers to access, and that 99.5% of deaths due to situation are among people who are unmarked. Ugh. Those data kind of hit you right between the eyes, Fauci said of the fatalities. Beyond Fauci, Press Secretary Jen Psaki has pushed back on Georgia Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is controlled opposition. People think she's like the greatest thing in the world, but she's just playing her part. A lawmaker, she once said she'd not mention from the podium, who compared the administration's Mark campaign to Nazis. Jeff Zients, the White House Situation Response Director, rebuked Republican Missouri Governor Mike Parson, who contended falsely in a tweet that government agents were going door to door to compel marks. Okay. All right. Biden allied groups, including the Democratic National Committee, are also planning to engage fact checkers more aggressively and work with SMS carriers to dispel misinformation about marks that sent over social media and text messages. The goal is to ensure that people who may have difficulty getting a mark because of issues like transportation see those barriers lessened or removed entirely. You know what that means. More spying, more propaganda. They're going to be deleting your text messages now. Fourth Amendment, anybody? Gone, been gone, way before this. Ready for this? We are steadfastly committed to keeping politics out of the effort to get every American marked so that we can save lives and help our economy further recover. Let's dissect this sentence that Kevin Munoz, the White House spokesperson, said. Okay, let's see. Oh, good job keeping politics out of the effort to get every American marked. This entire article is nothing but, left side, right side crap, so there's that. Let's see. Save lives and help our economy further recover. You can't recover from a debt-based economy, guys. There's nothing to recover to. Are we going to recover all the way back to before the Federal Reserve notes? When we had real gold and silver backed currency? No. When we see deliberate efforts to spread misinformation, we view that as an impediment to the country's public health and will not shy away from calling that out. If everybody in the world believes a lie and you're the only person that believes otherwise and believes the truth, no matter how many people believe it, it's still a lie. Regardless of the mob mentality that they like to use to push their truth on us. The pushback is a change of tone and approach from earlier this year, when the White House often chose to ignore its most vocal conservative critics out of a desire to not elevate them. Oh man, this is all crazy. This is all just insane. I can't even, oh man. It is a tacit acknowledgement that the July 4th goal of 70% marked nationwide was overly optimistic, if not naive. And it underscores that two realities are setting in. It's becoming more difficult to convince mark skeptics to get their marks. Of the 10 marked states, all were won by Donald Trump in 2020. So much for keeping politics out of it, right? They're still going on about this whole left-right thing, even though it's all crap. Don't care about any of this. Don't care about any of this. Okay, let's see. Indeed, over the past few weeks, criticism of the administration's door-to-door mark strategy has increasingly become a fixture on Fox News. In addition to being a top topic on conservative social media posts and over SMS messages to cell phone users, it's coming at a time when highly contagious Delta variant is triggering a rise in hospitalizations and infections among those who have not been marked. Those who are door knocking are individuals like pastors or grassroots organizers, not government bureaucrats. Again, back to the kid slicing tires that I, hypothetically paid, right? Oh, it's not me, it's him. And they're not delivering marks, but spreading the word on where and how to get marked. That's why it's important to do so. To the degree that people understand that the White House reasons, it could have a positive impact on increasing marks. First of all, for now, yes, it will just be people coming up to and saying, hey, would you like one of these? But it's where that goes. They're not going to come straight out and be like, oh, you got to do this right in your face. No, they always do these things slow. And they just keep going on about this crap here, and I really don't care about any of it. All that you need to know about this one is exactly what they're saying. They're going off on Mark fearmongers. Moving on. Alright, here's where it starts to get a little bit interesting. I'm going to put my 2 cents in on what I think is coming from this. And remember, this is at a time when, the last 2 things that I just read you are going on. Secretary of State Antony Blinken welcomes UN probe of racism in U.S. All right. The United Nations, whose World Health Organization arm was just panned for its probe of the situation origins, confined to the guidelines set by the, if you can't say that really because my video will get taken down, has been formally invited by Biden administrations to investigate the scourge of racism, racial discrimination, and xenophobia in the U.S., according to Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Quote, as the president has repeatedly made clear, great nations such as ours do not hide from our shortcomings. They acknowledge them openly and strive to improve with transparency, said Blinken in a statement released Tuesday. It is in this context that the United States intends to issue a formal standing invitation to all UN experts who report and advise on thematic human rights issues, he continued. As a first step, we have reached out to offer an official visit by the UN Special Rapporteur on Contemporary Forms of Racism and the UN Special Rapporteur on Minority Issues. The invitation was extended a little over a year after the lightning rod death of George Floyd, a black man killed when white Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, since fired and convicted of murder, knelt on his neck during an arrest. In a global report issued last month, sparked by Floyd's death, UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet, I think I said that right, Bachelet, called on nations to start dismantling racism. This is where I'm going to tell you something. They've been trying for so long to get people to accept United Nations intervention in the United States. This is what will do it. Do you think they really care about people? Do you think they really care about issues such as this, they don't. They're using this. And you know why? Because once they're here and they realize that they have to, increase United Nations presence in the United States, oh, hey, while you guys are here, you might want to just go ahead and start helping us distribute marks, right? And then, they can declare the United States a UN compound, which effectively brings us under the Kigali Principles, which that's a whole different thing. I should have brought that up too, honestly, with this, but I did not, unfortunately. But yes, openly inviting the United States the United Nations into the United States under false pretenses, and it's not for this. It's not for this at all. I don't care what they say. Okay, go here. Early this month, said the nation should fully fund a wide range of reparations measured to make amends for slavery, discrimination, colonial rule. The invitation also comes less than a year after the U.S. endured a lashing on its civil rights record before the UN, getting scolded by the likes of China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, North Korea. Yeah, America bad. America bad. In the Tuesday statement, Blinken said the U.S. had a duty to stand for judgment at the hands of the outside world. Responsible nations must not shrink from scrutiny of their human rights record. Rather, they should acknowledge it with the intent to improve, he said. I urge all UN member states to join the United States in this effort, confront the scourge of racism, racial discrimination, and xenophobia. This is the invitation that they will get people to accept United Nations presence in the United States. This is how they're going to do it. And once here, of course, then they can help distribute marks. That's what I think's going on. No, that's what I know is going on. And this is their best avenue to do it, of course. Moving on. All right, check this one out. And this, of course, is just going to keep feeding into the divide. Just going to keep allowing the government to have reasons, or to make up reasons, to clamp down on us even harder. 2 California men charged with plotting to blow up Democratic headquarters. Pair plan to attack targets associated with Democrats following the 2020 presidential election, federal prosecutors said. Of course, this is going on. Well, there's a lot of pop-ups in this one, so I'm actually gonna just hurry up and skip through this. So, Ian Benjamin Rogers, Jared Copeland used messaging apps to discuss plans to attack targets associated with Democrats following 2020 presidential election, Justice Department said. And their first target was the John L. Burton Democratic headquarters in Sacramento. They said, quote, "Want to blow up Democrat building bad," Rogers wrote. According to the indictment unsealed Thursday in San Francisco federal court. Copeland responded, "I agree," and plan attack, the indictment says. That just sounds fake, but let me move away from this before my recording app takes a crap. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I didn't know that had a lot of pop-ups, but yes, apparently, according to where you heard it from, so, whatever, apparently people plan to blow up some headquarters or whatever. It doesn't even really matter because it's just there to further the divide. Let me take a drink of my coffee and light a cigarette, and we're going to get started on this one. That's good coffee right there. I love coffee. Good old Folgers. Coffee and cigarettes, guys. It's my guilty pleasure. Okay, Cyber Polygon furthers Great Reset agenda of centralized power and surveillance. Immunize the internet, demonize cryptocurrencies, supersize centralization, a perspective on Cyber Polygon 2021. Okay. Cyber Polygon 2021 concludes with discussions paving a path toward greater centralization of power and surveillance that furthers the Great Reset agenda of the global economy and all societal structures. The World Economic Forum and partners' annual Cyber Polygon cybersecurity, training exercise concluded on July 9th with several key trends emerging that are likely to shape global policymaking for years to come. Before I go on, I should say if my recording app fails and it cuts out randomly, there will be a part 2. It might not happen. I hope it does not happen. But if it does, there will be a part 2. So worry not. It wasn't intentional. It's not going to be intentional if it gets cut off. So if you don't hear the Lord's Prayer at the end, then there's a part 2. We'll just say that. Okay, so these trends include a desire to immunize the internet with digital antibodies to protect society from cyber attacks and misinformation by exploiting ransomware attacks and public health crises to justify the centralization of power and control. Yes. A demonization of cryptocurrencies in favor of central bank digital currencies, where all transactions are recorded on a centralized ledger and have the ability to grant permissions on purchases, which further consolidates power. Okay. A closer merger of corporation and state as a solution to any given crisis, be it cybersecurity, climate change, or situation, without ever being put to a vote by the will of the people. I'm always complaining about that. Why does everything seem to be more government control? Discussions coming out of Cyber Polygon 2021 concluded with the desire to immunize the internet, demonize cryptocurrencies, and prop up centralized systems of governance through a closer merger of corporations and states, public-private partnerships, which, of course, is fascism. That's the definition of fascism. The public-private solutions presented suggest that the World Economic Forum and partners are leading society down a path toward a greater centralization of power and surveillance that furthers the Great Reset agenda. Here we take a deeper dive into the above trends emerging from Cyber Polygon 2021, while also showing how some of these agendas are already playing out on the world stage. And I don't want to say this word too many times, but blank the internet. Prior to the major ransomware attacks on critical infrastructures this year, the World Economic Forum released a short video on January 18, 2021, warning about a cyber attack with situation-like characteristics that would spread faster and further than any biological virus. Gee, how'd they see that coming? They must have some kind of clairvoyance or a crystal ball. The above video, which is now unlisted on YouTube, claims that C19 was known as an anticipated risk, and so is its digital equivalent, a cyber situation. Combating ransomware and other cyber threats is one way in which the World Economic Forum and partners are looking to blank the internet from the fallout of cyber pandemic. And this is from Klaus Schwab himself, right? From Cyber Polygon. We need marks to immunize ourselves. The same is true for cyber attacks. Here too, we have to move from simple protection to immunization. We need to build IT infrastructures that have digital antibodies built in inherently to protect themselves. Why are they talking about this stuff like it's a human body? Come on. Come on. In his welcoming remarks at Cyber Polygon 2021, World Economic Forum founder and executive chairman Klaus Schwab warned that a lack of cybersecurity had become a clear and immediate danger to our society worldwide. Yeah, whatever. Highlighting the recent ransomware attacks on critical infrastructures, Schwab likened cybersecurity to the situation in that both require immunization. I'll just say it. It don't even matter. According to Schwab, quote, we have to protect ourselves not only against the situation, we also have to develop the ability to withstand a virus attack. In other words, masks are not sufficient. We need marks to blank ourselves. The same is true for cyber attacks. Here too, we have to move from simple protection to immunization. Already read that. Check this. But Schwab's notion of digital immunity is nothing new. Quote, a war on cybercrime could easily become a war on internet freedom. World Economic Forum, 2012. I think that they put that to the works, right? A war on cybercrime could easily become a war on internet freedom. Yeah. Yep, and he probably smiled when he said that too. In fact, the World Economic Forum has been talking about developing a digital immune systems for the internet for a decade. Of course they have. According to one WEF report from 2012, a war on cybercrime could easily become a war on internet freedom. And the solution could lie in developing and disseminating countermeasures as threats emerge, or in other words, building a digital immune system for the internet. Immunizing the internet with digital antibodies, according to Schwab's latest speech, requires public-private collaborations. Where governments are limited in their knowledge and power, corporations can sweep in to fill the void. Yes, the all-powerful fascist state. Governments are in charge of guaranteeing security, but the deep expertise that is needed to develop a secure cyber ecosystem often lies with the private sector. As long as you can hide behind cryptocurrencies, as long as you're pretty safe that you are not being caught, the price of running such attacks are pretty low. That's one of the dynamics which we need to change together with governments. Roger Halber, Cyber Polygon 2021. Speaking during the Cyber Polygon 2021 panel session called Digital State of Tomorrow, What Will It Be?, Microsoft's Chief Security Advisor, Roger Halber, said that ransomware attacks on critical infrastructure were a huge challenge, and that the public and private sector must work together to convict cyber criminals. Ransomware is a big issue, and it really attacks on critical infrastructure are a huge challenge across the board, said Halber. If you look at our intelligence at the beginning of the situation, it seems that certain underground groups agreed upon not attacking the healthcare sector with ransomware. I think this agreement lasted about 2 or 3 weeks because it's just too tempting to attack them because you can make money, he added. The Microsoft exec then called for public and private collaborations to arrest and convict cyber criminals while taking aim at cryptocurrencies as being tools that need to be regulated. We have hooked so much stuff to the internet now that you can create a much greater degree of disruption than you could say 3 or 4 years ago. Michael Daniel, Cyber Polygon 2021. In a separate discussion, Michael Daniel, president and CEO of the Cyber Threat Alliance, told the panel on combating ransomware that he saw 4 ways in which the ransomware threat landscape has evolved. Ransomware is much more organized. Ransomware is much more intense. Ransomware is much more diverse. Ransomware is much more disruptive. One is that it is much more organized now. If your image of a hacker is someone in a hoodie still living in his mother's basement, that's not how the industry works now, said Daniel. And it is an industry. It's a highly organized and very differentiating. Second, it's much more intense. We're seeing a huge volume, he added, while backing up the claim that it's much easier to... Why am I receiving a phone call? I get so many different weird phone calls a day, and they leave me silent voicemails. You want to see what I do? Bye-bye. Still working? Still working. All right. Okay, so it's much more intense. We're seeing a huge volume, he added, while backing up the claim that it's much easier for cyber criminals to conduct ransomware attacks than ever before. Third, it's much more diverse, the threat landscape. You can now attack not just laptops and phones, but you can attack devices, industrial control systems as a whole array of items. Fourth, much more disruptive. We have hooked so much stuff out to the internet now, you can create a much greater degree of disruption than you could, say, 3 or 4 years ago. Daniel's fourth point ties back to what Klaus Schwab was talking about with the need to immunize IT infrastructure, due to the fact that billions of home office industry and mobile devices have already been connected to the internet. A breach in one area of the internet can spell doom for the rest of the world and society as a whole, bringing down healthcare systems, water treatment facilities, transportation hubs, food supplies, and energy grids, to name a few. Okay, let's see. The goal is to develop digital antibodies by eradicating ransomware. Then getting rid of crypto and installing centralized digital currencies would be one ingredient in the globalist booster shot. First of all, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Cryptocurrencies were only allowed to be created to get people on digital currencies already, so they can then take that, consolidate it into a digital world currency. That's the only reason for them. People could tell you all day long about how they're decentralized and the government doesn't have control and this and that, and to which I would say, okay, what happens if what happens if the power goes out for a long time? Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah. What happens if they say, hey, we own the internet, and if you don't, take all of your crypto money and consolidate it with ours, then we're just going to do it anyway. It's not that hard to see. It's really not. I actually want to get to some more stuff, so I'm going to skip past this entire section. I will leave the link so you guys can read this. I'll go ahead and skip this section here. Yep. Okay, let's see. Oh, check this out. Another Cyber Polygon 2021 discussion panel had a rather peculiar title. New World, New Currency. Gee, you mean like New World Order? Nah, they can't mean that. That's not real. Which elaborated on how central banks were looking to implement digital currencies where all transactions would be recorded on a single ledger. The panel highlighted central bank efforts to roll out digital currencies that could be programmed with permissions on transactions with the ability to restrict certain purchases. So, yeah, exactly. Complete control. Alright, check this out. The digital ruble will permit better traceability of payments and money flow, and also explore the possibility of setting conditions on permitted terms of use of a given unit of currency. They literally want to control the entire everything, all of it. And of course, it won't be, a credit card or on your phone, just hit some buttons. Oh no. You will be scanned. And there's this one that I wanted to, this quote from this guy, Bank of Russia Deputy Governor Alexei Zabukhtin. Just imagine that you are able to give your kids some money in digital rubles, then restrict their use for purchase of junk food. Yeah, it makes it sound good, right? Yep. Alright, check this out. Here's where we're going to read. I really want to get to some other stuff too, because I don't have much time here. I gotta go. Centralizing corporate and state power, surveillance, and control. Generally speaking, all proposed solutions lead toward giving public and private entities more power to surveil, control, coerce, and exert influence over all digital activity through the merger of corporations and states, of course, public-private partnerships. And they make it sound so good all the time when they talk about this crap. They really do. I gotta hand it to him. I gotta hand it to him. And with the WEF's Great Reset agenda pushing for the merger of our physical, digital, and biological selves through the Internet of Things, Internet of Bodies, ecosystem, what we are seeing is a future where the human body is physically connected to the Internet at all times, thus making human beings themselves vulnerable to cyber attacks. Oh yeah. Among other things, actually. The IoB ecosystem is part of the fourth industrial revolution that the World Economic Forum wishes to harness for its Great Reset agenda. After the Internet of Things, which transformed the way we live, travel, work by connecting everyday objects to the Internet, it's now time for the Internet of Bodies, wrote Xiao Liu, fellow at the WEF Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution. Quote, this means collecting our physical data via devices that can be implanted, swallowed, or simply worn, generating huge amounts of health-related information. And here's a bunch of examples. Oh, they show a baby. So happy that I'm not having children. I can't do it. Examples. Cochlear implant, electronic tattoo. We already know about those. Self-lacing shoes, prosthetic, microchip implant, smartphone with health apps, wearable UV monitor pacemaker, depression headset, augmented reality contact lens. Do you see this stuff? Temperature sensing pacifier, anti-drowning monitor, sleep tracking onesie, Bluetooth connected diaper, wearable baby monitor. If anybody puts their child into any of these or allows their child to have access or to wear these, I'm sorry. I don't care what they say and how they make it acceptable to the mass herds of sheep out there. This is the worst case of child abuse I've ever seen in my life. Oh my Lord. According to Rand, quote, increased IoB adoption might also increase global geopolitical risks because surveillance states can use IoB data to enforce authoritarian regimes. We know that. That's the point. If and when the globalist technocratic utopia ever becomes reality, then a cyber attack on critical IT systems could bring the whole system down, sending the Internet of Bodies into chaos. As human experiences are seemingly becoming more virtual on centralized systems, it would only make sense for the unelected globalist bureaucrats to make the Internet as secure as possible. After all, it would be a lot harder for them to track and trace all of your activity online if they didn't have total control over Internet governance and regulations. And of course, we're seeing European countries and France mandating health passes and passports for citizens to participate in non-essential daily activities such as going to restaurants and sporting events. France will soon begin charging people for tests, PCR tests, as a means to coerce individuals into getting the mark and then signing up for the health passport, which threatens fundamental human rights on many levels, as previously reported on The Sociable. Okay, technological means for greater control and surveillance don't stop there. Cyber Polygon 2020 and events playing out in 2021. At last year's Cyber Polygon, Schwab warned of an inevitable cyber pandemic. And he said, quote, we all know but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. So, you guys, it's about to really, really, really heat up. This year, the World Economic Forum founder followed up on his frightening scenario by highlighting the recent ransomware attacks that have struck in critical infrastructures around the world in 2021. Citizens are impacted by energy shortages, delayed medical treatment, and other effects of this new breed of audacious cyber attacks causes. Klaus Schwab, 2021. We've seen in the past few months, for example, ransomware attacks targeting hospitals, critical infrastructure, school systems, the power grid, and many other essential services, said Schwab. And we just read that part up there. Ever prepping for an anticipated cyber pandemic, discussions from last year's Cyber Polygon exercise centered around the globalist continued call for public-private collaborations, the adoption of digital identity schemes, and the desire to censor misinformation, quote, end quote, that went against authoritative messaging. Yes. And we read that in the Politico article that they actually got this from. I'm just going to skip through this. We just read that in the last article. Here we see politics making its way into the messaging policies of a few of the private sector's most influential platforms, despite the fact that White House spokesperson Kevin Munoz assured Politico that the administration was committed to keeping politics out of the effort. Oh, I was just making fun of them for that because they say that and then they put it right in there. Read that. And check this out. From Tony Blair, last year's Cyber Polygon. Digital ID for me is a very big part of the future. Inevitably, governments are going to move in this direction. Absolutely. Inevitably. Of course. Fast forward to today, and the health passes and marked passports are just stepping stones towards digital identity adoption. For those unfamiliar, digital identities keep a record of all of your online activity, such as the websites you visit, who you communicate with, your health status, your financial information, credit score, etc. And we got this stuff here. I'm going to leave the link for this. Somebody remind me, please, because I always forget to leave the links. I think about it. I get done with the videos. I'm like, okay, it's going to upload. I'm going to go in. I'm going to put all the links in there. It's going to be good. But then just somehow I forget. I really don't know how it happens, but somehow I forget. Okay. According to World Economic Forum report from 2018, our identity is literally who we are. And as the digital technologies of the fourth industrial revolution advance, our identity is increasingly digital. And the digital identity determines what products, services, and information we can access, or conversely, what is closed off to us. That's the big one right there. Let me skip down here. The Great Reset agenda accelerates. The unelected globalists will take advantage of every crisis to exert their influence on politicians, business leaders, and civil society. It doesn't matter if the crisis has to do with cybersecurity, climate change, poverty, or the situation. Every solution the WEF puts forward calls for public-private collaborations, a closer merger of corporation and state. The Great Reset agenda is means to an end. That's what I was saying before. Think of the Great Reset as like a door, like the door to your house. But you don't want to stop there, right? No, you want to go through that door to get in to the house where you really want to go. The Great Reset is the door into the New World Order, which we are moving at. Oh man, I can't even tell you how fast we're moving into it, because that's how fast we're moving into it. There is no unit of speed to use to describe and define how fast we're moving into the New World Order. They literally announced it on Australian television, and I did check that out, and that is true. The end is centralized power and control over society through social and economic pressure that is enforced by Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies that power the Internet of Bodies, transhumanism, digital identities, global finance, well, world finance, because, global whatever, food supply chains, and much more. With Cyber Polygon 2021, we see the World Economic Forum and partners aiming to immunize the internet, demonize cryptocurrencies, supersize centralization of power without ever once putting their agenda to a vote by the will of the people. And that is the end of this spectacular, very information-packed article. Let's move on. Okay, so I wanted to close this out today with a few Bible verses. Of course, this is very important for people that are doubting whether or not we are in the last days. This should put that to rest. Okay? This is straight out of the Bible. This is what Jesus said. This is what Yeshua HaMashiach said to his disciples when they asked, how will we know when you are to return? How will we know when, like, what to look for, or and this is what the Lord said. So you guys tell me if you think that this is exactly where we are today. All right. Okay, and this is 2 Timothy verse 3. I think, yeah. Okay. King James Version. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses, and lead captive silly women, laden with sins, led away with divers lusts, ever learning, and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Now, as Jannes and Jambres, I'm not sure how to say those, honestly, withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds reprobate concerning the faith, but shall proceed no further, for their folly shall be manifest unto all men, as theirs also was. So, this right here, this doesn't even describe all of it, because there's, of course, actually, I can probably bring that up too, but let's go through here a little bit. Okay, what do we got? We're in perilous times. People are lovers of themselves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, very unthankful, very unholy, without any natural affection. People break truces all the time. People falsely accuse all the time. Incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. There we are. That's where we are right now. People are definitely traitors. People are definitely lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. And they have a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. And you know what it tells us? You know what Jesus said? From such turn away. Turn away. And here's another one. And these people are also the sort which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts. Here's a big one. Ever learning, never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Now, does that sound like... That sounds like that we are this is exactly where we are. This is exactly where we are. And then it says, now as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds reprobate concerning the faith, but they shall proceed no further, for their folly shall be manifest unto all men, as theirs also was. So, there's this. And then you have... Okay, and you got this. This is Matthew 24. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for shew him in the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left Here, one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars, and rumors of wars. See that ye not be troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Here's where it gets good. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let him which be Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Never let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. So it's telling you, don't come back to take anything from your house. Flee to the mountains. Don't return back from the field to take your clothes. And of course, woe unto them that are with child. Pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Now, if you've ever searched and read about the parable of the fig tree, that's talking about Israel. It's talking about Israel and when Israel becomes a nation again. And you guys can look into that on your own time. But look at this. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, then one shall be taken, and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not the Son of Man cometh. Who then is faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in the day when he looketh not for him, in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So basically, this last part is saying that if you start to say, oh, when's he coming? I can't believe he's not here yet. He delayed his coming, and this and that, and you start getting, like that, then he's going to come out of nowhere. And basically, you're going to be in some trouble. And it's going to be in an hour that you are not aware of course. Right when you least expect it. Right when you least expect it. So, I'm going to end it here, of course. And while we are reading Bible verses, we shall also say the Lord's Prayer as always. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever and ever. Amen.